All right, and we are finally live. Sorry for that delay, Vanessa.
Hello, everyone. We are starting a little tiny bit late, but we're also hoping to leave a little bit early today. We have two clips. One of them is really short. So, we say that, and then like Patricia says, we say that and it doesn't happen, but we're hoping that we will be able to get off a little bit early and gift you some of your time. And yeah, that's that. Hope everyone's doing well, and thank you for coming. Thank you all for being here. Anyone on Facebook, if you please could remember to go ahead and go live and share this on your broadcast to your page, because of course we want everybody to see it and hear it. Today we are watching more Dave Biscabing expose for ABC 15's politically charged Mondays, because I don't know why I forgot that, because literally this is called a politically charged Monday meeting. And if you haven't seen all of them, then Gabe can drop in the chat the link to ABC 15's website, so that you can look at all of the segments that have been viewed by us and that he's created in their entirety. But for now, I just want to thank you for being here. Today we're going to talk more about MCAO. You're killing me, Smalls. We're going to talk more about them today. And anyway, welcome again. And just wondering if you could tell us it's solstice. Today's the very first day of summer, so happy summer. What the heck are we going to do to get away from this heat and to keep our bodies nice and cool and calm and all of this violent heat? But we want to hear from you, so make sure that when you reply, that you reply to all the panelists and to all of the attendees. And my first question, just to test that out, is if you could tell us if you have any fun plans to take a break this summer, and if you don't, what is your dream vacay? And I can model it. So I just actually got back this afternoon from spending 3 glorious days at the top of random mountains up north, all by myself in one of those converted vans with my little tiny dog, who's dead asleep right now. But it was wonderful to fall asleep with windows open. It was 65 degrees at night and 72 degrees during the day. It was magical. So I could do that again and again. Didn't know I was an RVer, but apparently I am. And my dream vacay is to go to every single tropical beach in the whole entire world. And there's one in Spain that's called Zoraida, so I definitely want to go there because it's got pink beach sand. Anyone else want to answer? What's your dream vacay? And Jade wants to answer. Go, sis.
What are you doing this summer for vacation?
I'm gonna go see my dad at California.
At California, yum. Cool.
Can I please pick a checking question?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jade.
If it's a really, really hot day, what would you do to stay cool?
Ooh, can I answer first?
Yeah, can I answer second?
Yes. I would eat a bajillion popsicles.
I would stay inside, drink lots of water, and go into the swimming pool.
Oh, you have a way healthier coping mechanism than I do. Who do you want to pass it to, Jade?
I'm gonna pass it to...
Just pick a letter in the alphabet and see if you can find somebody. What's your favorite letter?
B.
B?
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing we have is a V for Vanessa. You want to take that, Vanessa? What do you do to keep cool on hot days?
I think, well, we're all outside right now. My kids are swimming.
Oh.
So we're big pool swimming people. So that's what we would do.
Very cool. Thank you. Someone said Sydney, Australia is there. That's Lisa. Their dream vacation is Sydney, Australia, Sydney Harbor in Australia. Did the coral reef come back alive over there, Lisa?
Unfortunately not, but I think the marine biologists are working aggressively to find heat-resistant corals and to re-harvest them. And I know the coral reef is a designated emergency recovery preservation. So
that was one of the wonders of the world, right?
It's the largest coral reef, and because of its diversity in the ecosystem, they're actually learning a lot about these corals because they are prehistoric as well, and they're collecting so much data. Anyway, I can go on and on. It's very exciting.
I could talk to you about it, Anna. Maybe we should have an off-cuff discussion. Maybe we should make this politically charged Monday about the coral reef and what happened to it.
And believe it or not, it's connected to our climate in every corner of this earth. So yeah, we should talk about this sometime.
We really should. Thank you, Lisa. We also have Corin say finding some beach ocean waves to read and relax is a dream vacay, and that those pink sands sound amazing. I know, I can't wait to finally find them when I make $1 million or win the lottery. We'll see which one happens first. And then Fatima says, I want to visit the beaches in East Africa and eat lots of fresh fruit like papayas and mangoes. Oh, that sounds glorious. My brother went to South Africa and loved it. Do we have any Facebook friends that are telling us what they do to stay cool and what their dream vacay spot is? That's our 2 questions, either your dream vacay spot or what do you do? Miss Jade asked us, what do you do to keep yourself cool in these hot summer days? We also don't have to push it. So awesome. Okay, cool. Well, let's move on. Thank you, Jade, for the checking question and for modeling how to do it correctly. Oh, Amy just got back from San Diego. Yay. And then Helen says her dream vacation is going back to Guatemala and visiting the beaches there to stay cool. I have a tiny pool that I fill out. Oh, that's so cool. Karen said dream summer plans this year are to reorganize her house and to make it efficient the way that she loves it, and maybe a couple of road trips. Stop number 1, Glendale, you can organize my house too, and they make your dream vacation double the pleasure, double the fun. All right, y'all, let's get to it. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to Patricia. I just wanna make sure that, yes, I have covered what I need to cover, and the mic is yours, friend.
Thank you so much, Zoraida, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I feel happy and energized seeing all of your familiar faces. Karen, I don't see you, but I know you're on Facebook. So thank you, everyone out there in Facebook land, for being here with us. Tonight, we want to do like a quick little recap of what has gone on over these past several long months of this politically charged series, which of course started way back during the uprising last summer, May 2020. But instead of just having me ramble off a bunch of facts, I wanted to first hear from you all. What facts do you remember? What is standing out for you? What have you found most remarkable or memorable in all of the news that, if you're paying attention, we have known about, but Dave Viscobing is putting out there for everybody to hear? So please, we'll drop the question in Facebook and Zoom chat, and go ahead and unmute yourself and share what is most memorable or notable to you, and we'll have that conversation. I don't think.
Learning I was in a gang I didn't know about was pretty memorable.
I'm not laughing because I'm not laughing at all because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's true.
I get it.
Thank you, Fatima, for the reminder. Fatima typed in the chat what Patricia asked is, please share some politically charged highlights that stand out for you right now. I'll start calling on people. How about Roxanne?
Okay, you put me on the spot. No, I've followed the news a couple of weeks ago about the charges being dropped, and I was really happy to hear that. That's probably the thing that stands out most for me.
Thank you.
And
I picked on you first because of all the names. You remind me of that Sting song, which I'm sure you hear all of the time.
I've heard it all my life, yes.
Yeah,
Yay. Thank you, Roxanne, for being here too. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yay. In this venue too. Hooray. Karen is saying on Facebook, the claims that Maricopa County Attorney Office didn't know what was going on because of Alistair Adele's brain injury in November, even though the charges were made in October. That was a good one. Gabe shares that the recording of the cops in the car just totally being mask off about how violent they are and want to be referring to, I think it was a recording in February about how they wanted to stomp, smash, and gas those liberal POS protesters. And I want to remind us, what? That the woman was talking about how in the Batman movies, the Penguin carries a weapon under his umbrella, which is like obviously fictional. And they were thinking of real ways that they could get the gas over and beyond the umbrellas. So just how like wild they are with fiction and fantasy and their violence, like they're ever striving to be violent.
They legit tried to use Batman as like a, a strategy.
Seriously.
Okay.
Vanessa's saying the knowledge of the Nazi coins, the neo-Nazi challenge coins that police created, physically built, sold, traded, celebrated. Everyone knew about that. City manager Ed Zerker, the Phoenix police chief Jerry Williams, all of the cops that were trading them, everyone knew about it. That's old. That happened years ago, and it's just coming out now. And yeah, everybody's like, it's no big deal until this reporting happens. Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing that. So it looks like everyone's hitting on the really big points. Helen, of course, shared the literal, actual, factual lies, blatant lies that cops are making under oath about what the protesters did. And we can talk a little bit more about that tonight because there is some talk about getting folks on Brady list. But something we need to remember and think about is that unfortunately, we've all been raised in this culture where we're indoctrinated with the belief that policing and the police system are the good guys and they're here to protect us. The laws are just and fair and here to protect us. And it doesn't take really any research at all to understand and or listen to the experience of Black and Brown folks to see many and most laws are completely unjust and they're here as a set of rules to oppress a certain demographic of folks. We know which demographic. And then even inside of the law, police are working to be corrupt and to harm folks, anyone who stands against their ultimate authoritarian power. So it's really scary. I mean, obviously, Amy's been here with us. She's a cute little white lady. And yet, how dare she say BLM? You know, they're going to take her and call her a gang member and a felon as well. So that is the mission of policing, is to really keep power and to protect property. Is that correct? Okay, I thought you were going to say something. So let me just check out the agenda and make sure there aren't any. Does anybody else have any other facts or things they remember that they want to share or that they feel is notable?
I feel like it's notable that after how many months of this already, maybe 3 or 4 months, they've maybe felt the wrath of Dave Biscuit being in Maslip for 3 months and people already ghosting out of their careers, trying to save themselves from the embarrassment of being caught.
That's hilarious.
And that's not even full court, Maslip full court press. Like that's just people, that's just like the Globetrotter warm up, honey.
You are so right. That is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, something I want to remind folks too. I mean, Zoraida is making a funny point, but it's very valid. The sad and for me, like very sobering and frightening thought is that the MCAO prosecutes 30,000 cases every year. So we just got the protest charges dropped on a little more than a dozen cases. But I think as abolitionists, it's really important to remember how many cases that do not get this level of attention have been prosecuted by the same people. And so think of the people that are behind bars. And we will talk about this a little later tonight, but in Alistair's letter to Chief Jerry, she keeps talking about the innocence of this one person that was charged. And the very binary thinking that folks stuck in the policing system have of innocence and guilt. And it's a very, very small percentage of people, in this case specifically and generally white men, who are considered innocent, and then everybody else is guilty. And we'll talk about that more later, but it's just very frightening the amount of power they have, or they appear to have, because like Zoraida mentioned, you put a little pressure on them and they start to crack. So the system really isn't that powerful. It just needs our attention. It's just practiced, it's historical, it's violent. But with our attention and effort, we are absolutely working to dismantle that system and actually create something that's more just.
Patricia, in the chat, we have Amy responding to you, saying that a lot of alt-right people were calling her a race traitor after, her information came out. Fatima noted that the ex-cops investigating cops for, trying to follow up about all these charges, these false charges and allegations they're calling us, what Dave is saying, false allegations, and we all know that they're true. Then Vanessa said blatant lies and the visuals of nothing happening in juxtaposition to the actual video and the statements from NCAO and PPD are straight lies. Vanessa said, Bruce, the visual of his hands up and the coordinating of discussion between cops about targeting Bruce. From Fatima, the judge calling out PPD and MCO in her letter and dropping charges with prejudice hours before the trial. And Lisa says, that's right, they don't have the power, just borrowed from the people and the constituents.
That's right, for sure. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing all of those points. And, if we look back, it was over 400 people arrested in a small amount of time. And they did that only because these people were protesting against the police. Remember, the demand in the street was defund the police, Black Lives Matter, stop killing Black people. For those reasons, Phoenix Police Department responded with these escalated violent tactics. And in one of the letters, actually in a Tempe case, the city of Tempe police chief tweeted, "It is absolutely unacceptable to launch projectiles at people. This is not okay." And she was talking about protesters throwing water bottles at them. But it's like, oh, so they can't throw water bottles at you, but you can launch tear gas at them, and that's somehow okay. Like the warped world that these people live in. Petra is saying something that bothers them is that they're constantly talking about who's innocent and who's guilty when they're missing the point of the law's existence in the first place. These laws are part of the problem. They are the problem indeed. They protect property and they protect power over people. Amen, Petra, exactly right. Like, I wish we could just go in and first train everybody in the MCAO and PPD and then fire them all. And then we would be on a better, a better trajectory. So I think we're all pretty clear on that. Let's get moving on into our first section. We have this video that will give us a little bit more info of what's going on here. So Gabe, can you cue us up for that? Thank you.
ABC 15 broke the story. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office finally deciding to drop the case against a group of protesters falsely charged as a criminal street gang. In a public statement, County Attorney Alistair Adele wrote, "The decision in no way reflects negatively on the hard work law enforcement performed that night." But that's not true. Charges were dropped because police and prosecutors lied. There's major misconduct in the case, and the county attorney knows it. In fact, she said so herself. Tonight, ABC 15 investigator Dave Biscobing has the proof.
We obtained a letter sent by County Attorney Alistair Adele to Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams. It specifically names 5 officers and asks Phoenix PD to investigate them so that MCAO can decide whether or not to place them on the Brady list.
This is the letter sent April 19, 2021. It's 6 pages filled with, quote, concerns. It's a big deal, but before we break it down, here's some context. The letter is mostly about the case against a group of protesters arrested on October 17th. They were charged as a criminal street gang. We've spent months exposing the case. Our politically charged investigation launched in February. By the time the letter was written, we already aired more than 30 reports, clearly exposing the same issues. MCAO's biggest focus, the arrest of Ryder Collins. Literally, a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's a nurse from Prescott who was shooting photography downtown. Officers swept him up and falsely accused him of being part of the fictional gang. In Adele's letter, it points out the evidence clearly shows he was not part of the group. He did not know any of the people. He did nothing to assist the group. Yet multiple officers would say the opposite in their reports and to a grand jury. And we previously aired body camera video showing officers knew there were problems booking him that night.
The thing is, I'm kind of wondering, because this guy wasn't part of the group when they hindered, so I don't know if we can charge him with it.
The letter also heavily focuses on Sergeant Doug McBride.
Being part of all cops are bastards.
He's the Phoenix officer who testified that the group was a gang and like the Bloods, Crips, and Hells Angels. The letter raises that issue, but also brings up his other wild allegations, like McBride telling the grand jury that the protesters sharpened their fingernails to attack officers. Seriously.
Where they dig their fingernails in the back of your knuckles and try to disable your fingers and thumb.
The problem, according to the letter, the evidence shows that none of the people arrested that night had long, sharpened nails. And not just fingernails. McBride and other officers claimed some in the group were sharpening the tips of umbrellas to attack them. Again, from the letter. The evidence, however, shows that the umbrella design has a cone shape on top, but it had not been modified to be sharper. Here's a picture we later obtained of an umbrella officials tried to classify as a deadly weapon.
Now, the county attorney has not agreed to a standing interview request for ABC 15 for months. But on the other side, we reached out to defense attorneys in these cases, and they believe Alistair Adele wrote this letter personally with the intent to protect herself. See, don't forget that MCAO prosecutors played an equal, if not greater, role in bringing these false charges. In fact, a judge recently ruled that prosecutors colluded with officers to make up a non-existent gang. Now, as for Phoenix police, we also reached out to see if they responded to the letter. And here's what a city spokesperson told us in an email. The Phoenix Police Department responded via phone conversation that an independent investigation into the incident in question is currently underway, and that specific questions will be addressed once that investigation is complete. There are actually 4 total outside investigations underway because of our politically charged reports, 3 into Phoenix Police and 1 into MCAO. We're checking every week for updates, and so far, officials do not have dates for when those will be finished. I'm investigator Dave Biskobing, ABC 15, Arizona.
In response tonight, MCAO says the letter does not diminish the work of the majority of officers present that night. The office adds they have not made any credibility determinations about the officers in the letter.
Patricia, it went by really quickly. What was the officer saying from the chest cam? What was their quote?
He said that he doesn't believe Ryder was there. He does not think he can charge him. And somehow, he got shut up very quickly and the charges stuck.
Thank you.
So friends, that's, it kind of makes your stomach turn. It's pretty horrible to see. And quickly, Amy's saying in the chat that they complained about them having those little smoke bombs. And meanwhile, they are tear gassing the protesters, probably from how far away, Amy? Like 15 feet?
Point blank, right in my, here.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah. So, and they're complaining about the smoke bombs. So it's PPD. They really, truly are next level. And I think one of the issues is that folks are too ready to believe that they're still somehow upholding law and order, which we all know what those words really mean. But I think the illusion of safety that police create is more and more now being dissolved. And we can help that by putting out this information and really letting people know exactly what is going on. So As far as that first video that we just saw, we want to have a conversation here. When you see what happened, when you see how the officers were behaving, when you see that one officer tried to say, well, how are we going to charge this guy? And they found a way. When you see MCAO making sure that the charges are there and they stick. Gabe is gonna screen share our values. We want to get grounded in the mass liberation abolitionist values so that we can start to have a conversation, not from the all too familiar white supremacist worldview and analysis, which seems to be extremely and exclusively used by Phoenix Police and MCAO, but to get grounded in our values. Thank you, Gabe. So I hope that you folks can see those. If you think about the collusion and the lies, let's hear your take on how they are in opposition of the values, and then some of your view on how we can embody and use the values to help us combat what is going on. And the easier way to say that, thank you, Fatima, for dropping that in the chat. After watching that first video, which of our values come to mind for you? If you'd like to, please unmute and share, and then we can get a couple folks' responses. And then if you can't unmute for any reason, just go ahead and pop it in the chat and we'll read it for you.
I think for me, like the first one that pops off is like number 6, like the difference between crime and harm, because, you know, they're the ones defining what the gangs are and bringing all these false charges and just like ruining people's lives. So they're the ones with the power in this scenario. So, you know, bringing, you know, like our voices of the people directly impacted forward, like they're the ones closest to a solution. So I don't know, bringing them forward would balance it out.
Thank you, Helen, so much. I love that one. So Helen said there is a difference between crime and harm. So if we really think about that, crime is defined by lawmakers, by rich white people who have been trying to hold on to power only to maintain status and money. There's no safety even really related to the laws that they've created. And then the harms are immeasurable. Look at the harm PPD and MCAO are causing to folks. And remember that all of these have qualified immunity. So there's no accountability. There's no way to even stop the police from doing what they're doing because they sit there and create this web of lies to try to perpetuate the outcome that they want. And so we show up with all of our beauty and boldness and say, you know what, this isn't going to happen anymore, and stay rooted in that value and in the knowing that crime is really a fiction of their imagination to maintain that power. And harm is something we can address. We are addressing the harms that they cause. And what harm did Amy and those protesters cause by walking in the middle of the street? Maybe traffic was stopped and it had to be rerouted. I don't call that harm. It is harmful to shoot tear gas in someone's face. It is harmful to body slam a 110-pound woman to the ground to arrest her. All of those are actually harmful and infinitely more. Corinne is saying opposition to people over property from the Phoenix Police Department. The value to combat that would be all of us or none of us, like not just accepting them, dropping some charges and keeping on the MCAO about putting pressure to not accept their BS. Absolutely. This is a thing. This happened last summer. We're sitting here more than a year later. It's a long game to change all of this. Karen on Facebook land, thank you, Karen, is saying values 9 and 10. So we center the leadership of directly impacted people, and putting people in cages is never the answer. So centering the leadership of directly impacted people, we're listening to the Black and directly impacted leaders who were targeted, who were surveilled, who were attacked and arrested. And we are listening to them and their vision of what we need to do moving forward. That is how we come up with the solutions for this, because we know those folks that are directly impacted, they are closest to the solution, furthest from the resources, and we are working to shift that power differential. And then putting people in cages is never the answer. We've had that discussion. It has been a tricky one, because even here we have said, sometimes that's difficult to stay true to, because it can be easy to think, oh, well, if a cop kills somebody, let's just lock them up. Let's get that, quote, justice. But we know if we look underneath the surface, there's no justice there. It's just perpetuating greater harm. And the real issue is, if someone harms a human being, if someone murders someone, locking them away is not going to change the cycle of violence. And that includes police officers, right? It's not going to stop other cops from doing the same thing. And that is what we're looking to do, to truly dismantle these systems of oppression that have the apparent power to kill and harm people, so that they do not anymore. Kelly agrees with number 9, centering the leadership of directly impacted people, and everyone on this call is super awesome at doing that. And then also value number 3. Thank you, Kelly, for mentioning that one. Kaylin on Facebook also said value number 3. The system is not broken. It was designed this way. So you had this majority white folks out there on the 17th protesting for Black Lives Matter. The system is designed to quash that, to say absolutely not, get in line, or we're going to lock you up. It's unacceptable, and they're not going to stand for it. And we have to push back against that. We know that the system is designed to exploit and imprison Black, brown, and poor people. We know the system cannot be fixed or reformed. That is why we work to dismantle it. Why can't the system be fixed or reformed? Why can't we train these cops? If we have to train cops, you don't shoot Black people when you see them in a traffic stop. If we have to train cops not to lie in their police report and not to lie under oath, I think there's a bigger, more clear issue that in any other area of work on the planet, in any corner of the earth, we know you don't have a right to be in that position of power if you can't handle it. There is no training that is going to make a police officer safe or acceptable. Policing as we know it absolutely has to end. Kaylin says, the system isn't broken, it was designed this way. They tell such ridiculous lies. The sharpened fingernails, WTF, with such confidence, because the system is designed to take their words as law. Like, that's almost embarrassing. You know, they sharpened their fingernails to turn them into weapons. They sharpened umbrellas to turn them into weapons. And in Sergeant McBride's statement, he said he was injured. They hurt his thumb, and it still hurt that day as he sat there giving that testimony. So the violence of it and the confidence they all have to know, that one cop that we heard say, hey, it's not up yet, I'll tell you when it is. I need to focus on what I'm doing, so hold on. My thought was the cop lying, and the officer said, hey, I don't think we can charge this guy, but they manipulated their already violent and oppressive system to make sure they could do that. So it's very telling. I'm not sure who is saying number 4 and 7, but thank you for doing that. All of us are none of us, and people over property. They need to understand that they're also pawns in this dangerous game. It's a violent job, it's violent for our communities, and it's violent for their mental health and physical health. They're being, sorry friends, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. They are being trained to obey and be militarized when it's not a solution at all. It's killing people and stealing lives, literally and figuratively. Absolutely. Petra is saying love and rigor. They have a lot of hate and are exhausted by their own hate that they perpetuate. They need to understand love takes a lot of work and devotion and a lot of thought and consideration. They're lazy and cruel, and they think they can keep getting away with this. They did think that. I think they're learning, Petra, for sure. And so all of us or none of us, friends, that is liberation for one person at the expense of another is not liberation at all. We seek liberation for all people, regardless of differences. We don't discriminate. So it's a Black-led org. We always say Black liberation is mass liberation, but anyone who has these charges, MassLib is fighting for them, and MassLib is building the people power to continue the fight to make sure that we can get all of these charges dropped with prejudice. The demands are not even that difficult. Does anybody else have anything that they want to come off of mute and share with us before we start to head into the next section? Go ahead and do that, please. Is everybody good? Okay, friends, I think we're good to move on. So after having talked about our values, we're kind of recentered in that knowing. So it's a good time to discuss the ridiculousness that we saw. So you heard the reporter say there was major misconduct in these cases, and Alistair knows it. They're trying to put criminal street gang charges on these folks, saying that the ACAB gang, the All Cops Are Bastard gang, is like the Mexican Mafia, the Crips and the Bloods, and Hell's Angels. Sergeant McBride was on the stand lying under oath, and everybody saw that. So Adele, who wrote the letter to MCAO asking about these officers, is trying to petition for Ryder Collins' innocence. And I put that in quotes because though he had nothing to do with the event, it's just very telling and white that she is saying that he's innocent when no one else was. So just to kind of summarize that video, the quote from the letter Alistair wrote after finally the MCAO dropped the charges, she said, just so everybody knows at PPD, dropping these charges with prejudice in, and I quote, in no way reflects negatively on the hard work of law enforcement performed that night. So she's again crediting the hard work that these officers have done. And I mean, it is hard work, actually, if you think about it, to take what happened, people protesting and demanding justice for Black lives, and a nurse from Flagstaff standing on the corner, to take them and make them a criminal street gang is very hard work. They had to really think about that and try hard to make it happen. So it shows how despicable and corrupt MCAO and specifically Alistair Adele is to actually come out on the other end with all of this evidence and all of this proof, which is not a secret. They have it. They had it before us. And she's still saying, good job, PPD. You guys do a stellar job. Keep up the good work. And we say, no, MCAO and PPD, no, thank you. So we know that their purpose is to work together to quiet this dissent. Yes, you can. And they're going to prosecute anybody that doesn't like cops. That First Responders Bureau, that's the first thing that Alistair Adele did when she was appointed to MCAO. She opened that up, and the First Responders Bureau is meant to protect all first responders from assault. And that is, it's just so obvious. She is the blue life prosecutor. I mean, cops funded her. She is absolutely protecting all of her police friends and all of their violence. And then Dave mentioned, there's all these investigations. So MCAO has one investigation. PPD has 3 open investigations. The one that the judge is doing, one that Ballard and Spar is doing, that law firm who, Ballard and Spar is a law firm that PPD already had under contract for other work. So they've already paid them. They work with them, okay? And then the last one is that 21st Century Policing Solutions organization that is almost entirely ex-police chiefs, and our tax dollars are paying $250,000 for those investigations. Now, our work is to keep everyone in our families, school, neighborhood, jobs, everywhere we go, to keep our eyes on this, because only God knows how long it's going to take for those investigations to be completed. And what do you all think the investigations will conclude? Let's hear that. What do you think the investigations are going to say?
Nothing.
Nothing is a perfect answer. Yes. Another guess besides nothing, besides hot trash.
That we need more money for training and, become better cops.
That's a good one. So nothing top answer. Second top answer, Phoenix police need more money for more training so that we can explain to police that they shouldn't lie, that they shouldn't pick up people off the street and say they're gang members. Corinne says that they did nothing wrong, which is absolutely right. And Petra says, of course, yes. Oh, you all are good. Maybe you should be police investigators. They did nothing wrong. And Petra says that they're going to say this was an isolated incident and we need more money to maybe train those officers and get them out of there. A few bad apples, Amy's saying. Yeah, so, however long it takes, we already know what the investigations are going to say. But I think the essential work is to stay aware of what the narrative is they're trying to shape and not to let people believe that, because it's too easy when you're removed from this situation, when you don't have charges or know someone who has charges, to think, oh, well, that's logical. Okay, there's a problem. They have a solution. But we absolutely cannot fall into that trap. That will only perpetuate more violence. And may I remind you, PPD's annual budget right now is $750 million, not including the grants they keep getting for more militarized weapons, for more surveillance equipment, and to go into schools to teach children to trust the police more, to build better relationships between elementary school children and police. And it looks like someone's raising their hand. Did somebody want to talk?
Yes, it's Lisa. I just want to add to the additional funding that you were saying they're getting an additional grant. The bill that was signed by the executive, the President Biden, on the anti-Asian hate crimes. Very few people know that out of the bill of 21 pages, it was mentioned 15 times on law enforcement. There are additional money because of this bill to surplus the law enforcement across the 50 states. And they used it with the anti-Asian hate crime bill, which I strongly oppose. Unfortunately, within the AAPI community, we were all bought in thinking that this is a savior for our community, when in fact they used our community to enable the law enforcement even further at the federal and the state level. So it's an alarming situation that very few people understand and know about, including the AAPI community. And we're just used as bait. So I just want to add that. to it.
Lisa, thank you for sharing that very tender example. And I think the true tragedy is that that is an issue that needs attention and needs a solution. How does it make sense, however, to give police money? When violence happens, police show up after the fact. So again, this system just perpetuates violence and policing, pulling people off the street, disappearing them off the street. Even if you take off a dozen people who are harming a certain community, that doesn't eradicate the root of the issue. So abolition is a radical idea because we don't want to keep putting Band-Aids on massive gaping wounds. We want deep healing, and we want to get at the deepest, truest root of the issue. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, they'll find any way to get more money into the hands of PPD. We can continue this conversation into the second video, because the second video brings us to who was actually put on the Brady list. So Gabe, take it away.
All new tonight from the ABC 15 investigators, a new development in our politically charged investigation. One of the key officers responsible for falsely charging protesters as a criminal street gang has been added to the so-called Brady list. This is some grainy video of Sergeant Doug McBride testifying in court about the protest cases. We exposed how he exaggerated and lied about a group of demonstrators arrested on October 17th. McBride claimed they were a gang and compared them to the Bloods, Crips, and Hells Angels. A judge would later toss out those gang charges and specifically call out McBride for presenting, quote, false and absurd testimony to a grand jury. You can see our full politically charged investigation at abc15.com/protest.
Okay, friends. So that little 50-second video said that finally, Sergeant McBride, the biggest liar McLiar of them all, sitting there under oath saying all of these lies about sharpened nails and sharpened umbrellas, and they're definitely like a gang. He has finally been put on the Brady list. We did drop in the chat earlier the letter that Alistair Adele wrote to Chief Jerry Williams. Let's drop it again just so you all can have it. She gave the names of 4 individual officers and highlighted the questions she had about their conduct. So she said, Sergeant Doug McBride, looks like this guy is lying about everything. Officer Jeffrey Raymond, that's the guy that said Ryder Collins, the nurse from Flagstaff who was photographing on that night, ran up on police and impeded arrests. Officer Alexander Volk is the one who said that Sue sharpened the tip of their umbrella. And we've all seen pics of the umbrella. It's on this politically charged series. It's literally a little plastic dollar store tip umbrella. And then there's Officer Joseph Crowley as well. So Alistair Adele sent a letter in April to Chief Jerry Williams and said, the conduct of these officers is looking a little questionable. Can you help? Now, at the end of the letter, she says, I know that mistakes can happen, so let me know what's going on and if I can help in any way with the situation. So even though the conduct of these officers from PPD is so egregious that she is finally writing to Chief Jerry and saying, you know, you really have to investigate these officers, she still says, we recognize that errors and mistakes happen. At this point, MCAO has not made any credibility determinations, meaning we haven't decided they're liars yet, but there are some issues that may be classified as training issues. We want to bring them to your attention, and so you can make conclusions. So she's already giving them an out and saying, yes, there are some issues. However, you can train the officers right out of those issues, and errors happen. So she's calling these lies errors. Now, the many problems, but one glaring problem is that publicly, Alistair Adele is ride or die we love the cops. Back the blue. They're doing great. We appreciate them, all of that. But internally, she's trying to get Chief Jerry to investigate just these handful of officers. Meanwhile, how many others are doing things that are equally bad or even worse? So yeah, the chat is popping off. Folks are freaking out about the training. I mean, if you read that whole letter, she illustrates everything that those officers did. And mind you, friends, this is one tiny case out of 30,000. So, and it's 4 officers. Thanks, Zoraida. I see the time. Did you want to say something?
No, I was going to say the time, and also if I just read the letter during the segment, and basically she's just quoting everything that Biscabine said in his expose. So it's not even like she's coming up with new stuff. She's literally plagiarizing from the guy who's trying to crush her career. Rightfully so.
Yeah, so their solution is going to be training, and we know that we cannot let it end with that. We've seen their conduct. We know we trust the voices of Black leadership that is saying it's always been this way. It is built to be this way. And then let's talk about how out of only 4 officers, that's it. She only gave 4 officers, only Sergeant McBride was actually put on the list. Like, it is so chilling to think of how wildly inappropriate you have to be before any action is taken. And so this Brady list, all it means is, okay, we're not going to ask this guy to speak under oath because he's a fucking liar. There's no real, what is it called? Like,
accountability?
Consequence. There's no consequence whatsoever. So that's where we come in, and we have to keep pushing. So I think, does anybody have anything that they want to share about that? And how's Facebook doing, Vanessa?
Amy, I saw you come off mute. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was sitting next to Ryder when we were at like the holding tank. I don't know what it's called. One of 3 they took me to that night. And I remember one of them saying to him, "Now, next time you'll be a good boy and not run away when we tell you to stop, right?" And he was like, "Is this a joke?" So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and we like literally all the video evidence is there. No one even ever told him anything. It's literally Alistair Adele wrote that. Like, we see no one said anything to this guy and he's still under arrest. Like, how does that even happen? It is deplorable. So we're going to move into our wonderful call to action, because after seeing all of this, you know how important it is to keep building, to keep the pressure on MCAO. We have our weekly Drop the Charges meetings. They happen every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, the first 3 Tuesdays of the month, 3 or 4 if there are. And then the last week we meet on Wednesdays. There is a bit.ly in there. Sign up, bring your friends. We don't expect Alistair is likely going to resign. I still think she might resign and say it's due to medical issues, so to kind of save face that way. But we think it might come to us recalling her. Now, if that happens, we're going to need energy. We're going to need you all to get everyone you know to help us get folks to sign that recall so that we can get this woman out of office and get all of them disbarred, because they have no business practicing law. So sign up for the Drop the Charges Action Committee. Meet with us every Tuesday. Suvarna still has charges against them. Please click that bit.ly, save it, share it on Facebook. Tell your friends and family to call MCAO. Has to be during business hours. They don't have an answering machine on right now. You can leave the message and tell them, drop these charges now. And then, of course, we saw the state try to come together after these protests and make laws that would make protesting and practicing your First Amendment rights more unfavorable. It's like the 162nd day of the legislative session. It's like going on forever. So we're still calling and saying no on HB 2309. which is a protester punishment bill. It's literally created to make people afraid to come out and speak against the police. So we have to keep showing up. We have to keep pushing. Make sure you're taking breaks. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're loving on each other and yourself so that you have the energy to do this work. We appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you everyone for being here on Facebook. Thank you all of you beautiful people for joining us on Zoom. I appreciate you, and I'm gonna pass to Zoraida.
Well, there's not much more to say. There's many more things coming my way, y'all. We really truly do appreciate you, and I really mean it when I say like self-care is very important. So try to step away from your life, even if it's just for a day or two. If you go to Prescott or anything, just do anything you can to keep yourself energized, because we need you whole. You need yourself whole, but we need you whole too. And this work can get heavy. And I'm looking directly at Amy's face, because not only is she here to do the work, but she's actually living through the horrific experience. So please make sure you're caring for yourselves. We love y'all very much. We really appreciate you. We really hope to see you soon. And yeah, I'm going to give you 3 minutes of your life back. So hit it, DJ Gabe, on the ones and twos.